Sources tell CNN Donald Trump is asking a federal court to block his former Vice President Mike Pence from testifying before a grand jury about January 6th and the efforts to overturn the former president's 2020 election loss. That request is part of a new filing submitted secretly in a sealed proceeding. Let's talk about this with CNN's Jeremy Erb. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right, Jim. And this filing is basically, it's going to make it more difficult for Special Counsel Jack Smith to obtain testimony from Vice President Mike Pence. And of course, this investigation is playing out as we see in the course of this 2024 presidential race. Now, the filing, as you said, it was filed under seal, and so we don't know details about the specific arguments that Trump's legal team is making. What we're told is from sources that they are basically trying to prevent Pence from testifying about certain elements of the January 6th investigation. And this isn't the only roadblock that the special counsel is facing, because Pence himself has said that he plans to fight the subpoena for a different reason. Pence has argued that he is protected by the Constitution's speech and debate clause, which shields the legislative branch from certain law enforcement action. He says because he was the president of the Senate on January 6th when he was certifying the votes, that he is protected under this clause. Now, what the key here is going to be, how much time is the special counsel going to take to try to fight these battles, or is the special counsel going to decide that he has enough evidence to try to wrap up this investigation, potentially before these executive privilege and other matters are resolved, Jim?
All right, Jeremy Erb, very important development. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And more now with CNN senior legal analyst Elie Honig. His new book is Untouchable: How Powerful People Get Away with It. I always feel like when I read that title, it's the perfect segue to what we then talk about. Elie, let's talk about this, what Trump is now doing with executive privilege. I mean, put aside the fact that he's now on the same page pretty much as Mike Pence, his former vice president, and that they both don't want him to testify, or at least that's the way Pence is putting that out there publicly. Could this work? He's not president anymore.
Well, Jim, you're right. It is unusual to see Trump and Pence reunited, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think it's very much of a long shot. I think Donald Trump has a steep, rocky, uphill climb legally. He's invoking executive privilege, meaning I had conversations when I was president with one of my key advisors, my vice president, that needs to remain secret. But he's got two big problems. One, Donald Trump is now a former president. While it's not impossible for a former president to invoke executive privilege, the courts have said that it's much more difficult for a former president to invoke executive privilege than a sitting president. So that's number one. The other problem Donald Trump has is this is a criminal grand jury subpoena. And usually courts are going to honor criminal grand jury subpoenas. And typically, with some exceptions, but typically executive privilege does not prevail over a grand jury subpoena. So it's a shot in the dark here. I think it's got a chance of succeeding, but only a very long shot chance here.
And Elie, Pence is already trying to avoid testifying by claiming it would be unconstitutional under the speech or debate clause of the Constitution. Is he right about that? What are the odds of that being successful? I've been wondering about this one.
He's got a little bit of a better argument here, and I think he could succeed in some part. His argument is that in my role as vice president, I was also president of the Senate, and the Constitution says that members of Congress cannot be forced to answer questions outside of Congress itself. I do think the court will say, yes, it can apply to the vice president. The problem is you have to go sort of question by question and decide, is this within his legislative duties, his proper legislative duties? This is what happened with Representative Perry. This is what happened with Lindsey Graham. At both times, courts went through and said, only a very narrow subsection of your testimony is protected, that which applies to actual legitimate congressional duties. All the other stuff, though, is in play, and I think we'll get a similar response here with Mike Pence.
And I mean, obviously, these are delay tactics on the part of the former president. You and I have talked about this a gazillion times, that this is what he does. Doesn't this complicate matters, though, for the special counsel, Jack Smith, if Trump and Pence can continue to just lay out one delay tactic after another to the point, and Elie, this is the big question that I have in my mind, and that is, I mean, might you have a possibility, a scenario in which the former president is indicted while we're in the thick of a re-election campaign, where you have Joe Biden announcing he's running for re-election, and we're just into the campaign season. And because it's taken this long, it does have that sort of, I don't want to say cloud over it, but it becomes more complicated.
I think you're absolutely right, Jim. As you say, we talk about this a lot. We are 2 years and 2 months out from January 6th at this point. And the problem that Jack Smith has inherited now, all that time wasted is gone. And if he's going to fight this fight over this subpoena to Mike Pence, he's got to beat both arguments, Trump's argument and Pence's argument. We got to go through the district court where we are now. We got to go through the Court of Appeals, and whoever loses there is going to try to get it to the Supreme Court. You are talking about months of delay. Does Jack Smith have that luxury to wait that long? Could we see Donald Trump indicted and it land in the middle, a trial land in the middle of the electoral campaign? Absolutely. That could come out of Fulton County. That's a different investigation. But look, Jack Smith is operating from a disadvantaged position here because Merrick Garland wasted about 2 years before Jack Smith ever came aboard. So now he's got to do this cost benefit analysis. Is it worth taking this long to fight to get Mike Pence's testimony?
And I guess, which leads me to the question, Ellie, is there a point on the calendar that you think, okay, it just becomes difficult to pursue the case anymore? And Trump has succeeded in running out the clock. And the Justice Department will have to face that criticism from a lot of Americans that they just dilly-dallied too long. It just took too long.
So as a technical legal matter, they're still within their rights to bring this case. But I do think there comes a point we may already be past it. The fact of the matter, like I said, Jim, 2 years, 2 months out from January 6th, not a single person, forget about Donald Trump, not a single person in any position of official power has been charged with anything. And everyone's so focused on indictment, Jim, but you have to be realistic. Look, I was a prosecutor. You have to think about trial. When are we going to try this case? We're just getting a preview of all the appeals and motions. They're not going to get to trial to this thing until best case scenario 2024. We're going to be in the midst of primaries by that point, or maybe later. It's going to be that much harder for a prosecutor to get a jury unanimously, all 12, beyond a reasonable doubt, to convict anybody who's involved in the race at that point.
All right, Elie Honig, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
All right, Jim, thanks.